Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Hayward City Council. We are going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance, which tonight is going to be led by Councilmember Andrews, but she is going to be joined by some very special guests that we have out right here in the chamber. So if you guys will please come forward. These are members of Cub Scout Pack 765 from Castro Valley. And there they are. Hopefully you can see them. They are going to help. So guys, you might want to turn, so we can see you. Hi. And now you can turn around. And Councilmember Andrews, are you ready? And are we all ready to join them?
Yes, I'm ready. Hello.
Okay.
Are you ready? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. And thank
you.
Yes, I know that Councilmember Andrews appreciated the help there, and we all appreciate your coming in. It's good to see you. Hope you enjoy the rest of the meeting. All right, well, so with that, I will ask our city clerk, Ms. Lenz, to please call the roll.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Good evening. Councilmember Andrews.
Present.
Councilmember Lamnin. Present. Councilmember Marquez.
Present.
Councilmember Salinas.
Here.
Councilmember Wahab.
Here.
Councilmember Cermeño.
I am present.
Mayor Halliday.
Here.
Thank you.
That brings us to our closed session announcement this evening, and I will turn it over to our city attorney, Mr. Lawson, to make that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Council did convene in closed session this evening at 5:30 p.m. pursuant to posted notice in the Brown Act. And with all members present and no public comments, the Council discussed two matters under the category of anticipated litigation. As to the first matter, based on facts and circumstances that warrant the initiation of litigation by the city, the Council gave direction to staff but otherwise took no reportable action. As to the second matter,
I'm sorry, Mr. Lawson, I can't hear you.
As to the second matter, based on facts and circumstances that could lead to the initiation of litigation against the city, the Council gave direction to staff but otherwise took no reportable action. Councilmember Wahab was absent during discussion of the second matter. The closed session adjourned at 6:38 p.m.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to public comments. This is your opportunity to comment on any items that are not otherwise on our agenda. I will turn this over to our city clerk, who I know we do have some speakers here. If you're an attendee on Zoom, please raise your hand so we can see if you want to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first speaker, Peggy Guernsey, please come forward.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and those present. Madam Mayor, I would like to take a few minutes to say goodbye to you and thank you for your service. I know you've given many, many years to public service to the city of Hayward. I've worked with you and supported you for many years. You've also chosen not to answer any of my emails for over 3 years, even though publicly you said that you would not do so. I have been greatly disappointed in your behavior. I may not have always agreed with you, but I am a member of this community for over 52 years, paid my taxes each year, worked in the many Hayward activities, the CSC, and do not deserve your disrespect. You also ran for this office this last time, so Councilmember Salinas would not be elected to the office. You notably showed your lack of support for him for years. This is also very disrespectful. Well, now you're going to leave him as your mayor, unless you're planning to leave Hayward for your retirement years. He'll be able to walk over take the oath of office for mayor of Hayward and take over what you and the council have done. I hope you can do it with joy and respect for him and the office. My concern is you have let Hayward become dirty, unwelcoming, the roads a speedway, houses built for unreasonable prices for your average wage earner and resident, stores unpainted, also dirty and empty. Southland looks like a barren prison lot. Nothing happy or meaningful happens here. We had 4 theaters, both ice and regular skating rinks, go-karts on Mission, 4 bowling alleys, joyful barbecue fundraisers with Councilmember Salinas, not you, a newspaper and positive articles of Hayward, a thriving shopping mall where the Greek festival started. The Hayward Municipal Band performed at the Hayward Park without council support, performed free for 10 weeks every summer for over 40 years. Thursday night on B Street and the world-famous Zucchini Festival for over 35, a thriving and very positive sales tax automotive sales, which under your terms, Mayor, we no longer have. Currently, I see your activity is to have everyone ride the bus, but you let AC Transit stop the bus lines. You want us to walk, no gas car sales or gas stations, all electric homes, including electric car chargers in all of them. When who can afford an electric car, solar, or the car manufacturers are making a bunch of money once again in Hayward with gas car sales. You and the council did a big photo op of signing one of Subaru's main support beams, and now you want them to stop in a few years selling those cars you are enjoying a positive cash flow from. Your retirement and great benefit package will be supported by that revenue.
Thank you, Ms. Guernsey. Your time
Councilmember
is up.
Salinas, you'd better get your speech out and tell them, well, thanks for the money, but we don't want it now.
Thank you, Ms. Guernsey.
We'll
Your
just
time
tax
is
your
up.
people more. Yeah, you and the governor and the state assembly couldn't
Ms.
figure out.
Guernsey, please, can you end your comments now?
Thank you so much. You're building homes, senior
Guernsey.
condos, apartments without grocery or infrastructure support.
Ms. Guernsey,
What's
please
wrong with your
stop now.
economic
Your time is
department
up.
that you
You have
cannot
made
get a
your
grocery or
comments,
department
and
store support
you need
in
to
South
sit
Hayward?
down.
I'm not opposed to
Okay,
reducing our carbon.
Ms. Guernsey, I'm going to ask you now to please sit down because
Community
your time
we have.
is up.
The solar field Hayward has
But
hasn't
you
reduced my
clearly don't
electric
seem
bill.
to care about the rules here.
Windmills
so
are standing.
we're going to move on with our agenda. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the next speaker?
The next person, Mr. Bob McKay, please come forward.
Ms. Guernsey, your time is up. Please leave the podium and...
You let another man a couple weeks ago talking.
No, I didn't. His time was up too.
I'm not leaving till I finish. None of you have helped elder abuse or finding a home for abuser. None of you helped feed 3,000 of the defunct food pantry at Chabot.
Are you almost finished?
That
You need to finish. Ms. Guernsey, you cannot do this.
can't even, yes I can. I have a
Okay, let's just shut this off for right now, okay? Until we deal with the situation in the chambers of someone not relinquishing the podium when asked.
couple of sentences in the staff that when a staff member,
Can we stop the,
well, I found out no restaurant asked for this. The chamber didn't ask for it.
Ms. Guernsey, I really don't want to ask the officer in the room to have to come and take you away.
Looking into it, your staff member did his job, wrote a report stating what I have said, and yet the staff recommends that they raise the unit.
Ms. Guernsey, you need to leave the... You're not being broadcast, you're not... Ms. Guernsey, this has gone on long enough. Will you...
Peggy, let's talk about that later. Peggy, I hope we can talk later.
All right, I apologize to everyone for the disruption of this meeting by a member of the public who did not follow the rules on public comments. But we will now continue with our meeting, and I will call the next, or Madam City Clerk, will you call the next public speaker?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Bob McKay, please come forward. No? Okay. We'll go ahead and call the next person, Leslie Garcia. Please come forward.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to represent our business, Senia's Gelato. We have a concern because we have vendors in front of our business, and it's causing a lot of damage to our business. Okay? We feel some type of way because we pay taxes, and they don't pay any taxes. We feel like we struggle a lot when the sanitary state comes to us and has a lot of requirements for us, and the health department, you always have to have it super precise. And for they don't have to go through that, you know what I mean? It's like so much preparation that goes into that. So us as a business, it has affected us really much, And we ask for you guys to help us out and find a solution for us to feel comfortable and not feel the way we feel now. And as I said, it's been really hard on us, They take our clientele daily. It's just the way we feel. If we would close our doors, not pay taxes, not pay utilities, and just put a bench outside, a table, and sell outside like they did, it wouldn't be fair to the state, correct? So I feel like we should get a response and some help from you guys with our business. Okay.
Thank you. And I know that we had some speakers on the same subject last week, and I know that our city staff is responding to those, and we do have this topic coming up on a future agenda as to we're not, there are limits to what the city can do. The state has made some rules that are difficult, make it difficult for us. But Madam City Manager, I don't know if we were collecting names last week, so make sure that the city clerk has your name and contact information so that we can, that we can get in touch with you when we have this come up on our future agenda.
Yeah, and I would really appreciate you guys' help, because it's been a struggle, and we see that it's not fair for us.
Yeah, well, hopefully, as we move forward, we can help in some way.
And if there are people who are being disruptive or leaving trash or causing issues, you can always call the police department non-emergency line at 293-7000 if it's not a life-threatening emergency, and we can try to at least address some of the issues that way.
Just a quick comment with that. We have, and with police officers have come on the scene, they say that there's nothing that can be done. Just because they have a permit, and for us, it's like we have an establishment, we have
Right.
bills we pay taxes.
We understand, we do, but there are limits to what we can do too. But I think we are going to have discussion about this, so be sure that you have added your name to the list to be notified when those discussions occurred, okay?
And we would really
Thank you.
appreciate it if you guys would help us, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Councilmember Zermania?
You said they have a permit. What do you mean?
So
Who's
they have said that they have a seller's permit.
Who's they? The seller?
The vendors, yes. So
And
when
the-
we've called the police, they've stated that they have a seller's permit. And then the sellers tell the police their story or whatever, and the police tells us there's nothing we can do. They have a seller's
They tell
permit.
us.
Okay, I'm going to ask
All
that
right.
we do this
Okay,
discussion when we actually have this on the agenda, because we can't talk about things like this that aren't on the agenda, so. But
Okay.
we will be having discussions about this, so stay tuned and make sure we have your contact information. And anyone else that you think wants to be informed about this, okay?
Okay, thank
All
you
right,
guys.
thank you. And our next speaker?
Jorge Flores, please come forward.
Good afternoon, members. Again, this is Jorge Flores from Don Polvoron Bakery. I was here last week on the same matter, so I'm here again to follow up. So we came here last week to expose our concerns with the street vendors, and we explained all the situation. Today we're here to ask again for your support and also find out if there's any progress on the matter. And also, I took the time to read the State Bill 972, and all I read is, I'm not a lawyer, or my language is not English, as you know. But what I understood, the whole bill protects the street vendors. It doesn't talk anything about the small business, so they forget about us. So, anyway, so what I understand, the bill protects the street vendors, but also asks for a lot of regulations that need to follow. Like one of them is to have a place where they cook and prepare all the food that will go and sell on the streets. My question is, who's checking if they really have that place, where they prepare all this food? Now, they also, and that's for sure, all the sales that they have is cash. Who's checking how much of those sales are being reported? All that brings is that they don't report any of this. They may be not following any of the regulations. That hurts the city, not only us as small businesses, but also the city, because all the taxes and all those permits that they should be paying, they're not. And they're contributing to a lot of expenses in the city as garbage and other issues that they'll bring by selling at the streets. So my question is, who's checking, all those regulations? I think that the city should be checking that, isn't it? That's something that we need to talk about. The other thing is, okay, fine. If we're gonna follow that state bill, that means us as a small business, we can do the same thing as they do, because we got an established place where we cook our stuff. So we can go into the streets and start selling our stuff without reporting. That's only fair. That's the only thing we're gonna be able to do. If we're gonna kind of balance that way, is us to go out in the streets and start selling and doing the same thing. No reporting or no paying any permits. We don't want to do that. We love the city. We want to help. But this is driving us to no other solutions. They can be, I'm out of time, but they can be in a place where they are away from us.
So I hope that we can have this discussion. Sometimes we can't have it tonight because this is not an agendized item, but make sure that you,
I think
that,
that's it.
do we have any update on when we might be having a discussion about this issue?
I believe I mentioned last week it's coming back after the new year, but I will get a specific date.
You know, it might be good to have a community
long.
meeting too beforehand with the people who have been concerned the last couple of weeks.
We'll figure out what we can do
All
in
right,
the meantime.
thank you.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Appreciate.
I mean, we hear you. We just, okay. Madam City Clerk?
Alfonso Perez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I hope you guys are having a great evening. I am here today to represent the also street vendors. The same complaint basically. I'm here from Taqueria La Placita. Basically, my complaint is that there's a lot of street vendors in front of my business, and it is affecting my business and reducing my sales. We've had this business for over 22 years, and our sales have decreased a lot ever since we've had more street vendors. I don't think it's fair that we have to pay bills. Again, we always have to pay taxes, we have to pay rent, all of our employees, insurance. Meanwhile, there's street vendors who they probably don't even wash their hands. We have health inspectors come every year to our location and be making sure everything's clean, everything's neat. But when it comes to street vendors, there's nobody who checks them like that. So I'm here because it's not fair that we have to have everything clean, everything neat. Meanwhile, these street vendors are just here selling everything. Like they charge people, grab money. Money has a lot of bacteria. Then they go grab food and still give it to people. I don't think that's fair that for us, we have to have, go wear gloves, wash your hands. One person selling, you can't go touch food. I feel like this is what mostly it's affecting a lot of people. A lot of people might think, it's not that bad, but it is a serious cause because a lot of bacteria can cause a lot of illnesses on people. And I don't think this is healthy for our community. I feel like mostly it should be more into like street vendors, how they don't have as many things as we do. Our businesses have to pay a lot. We have to make sure everything's neat, everything's clean, make sure your business is looking good, because if people come in and you're grabbing money, giving them food, it's obviously gonna seem bad, and we don't like that because it's just like, why do we have to do these things? And then you look at the street vendors and they're like doing the complete opposite. There's no health inspectors going up to them, have you guys used gloves? Are you guys washing your hands? Meanwhile, us, we have to be doing all of the above. And then if that's the case, I'd rather have my business go on the street, sell tacos how we always do, and then that's it. Not pay bills, not pay rent. There's no health inspection. We don't have to be making sure everything's neat. So I just feel like you guys, it's like mostly the community won't be as healthy if they can't be washing your hands. Like everyone knows there's a lot going on right now in our community, COVID and everything that was going on. And then just for people to be, I'm gonna go touch money that it has been in different places. Nobody knows where the money's been. And there's more people bringing money to you, and then you go and you grab, let's say there's someone making mangoes or something. They're grabbing everything, giving it to you, and then you go straight to your mouth. It's not healthy for everyone, and I feel like that's something that's more risky to the community than like us. We're over here having to, over the past 22 years, every time we check, make sure you guys are washing your hands. Make sure when a health inspector comes in.
Thank you. Your time is up too.
That's okay, yeah.
We do hear you. And as I said, make sure the city clerk has your information on this issue so we can let you know when we're going to be actually talking to it.
Yeah, that would be really appreciated, like how they were talking about it. We're just trying to make sure because, it's kind of unhealthy for the community.
It's okay.
Right,
But
thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Raúl Martinez, please come forward.
How you doing, everybody?
Yeah.
I am the owner of Don Gaspacho Ice Cream Shop in Tennyson. I'm here to explain about three things. The more bad thing I feel it. I see my mind go down.
He's struggling a lot.
I have three kids. That's two right there. I feel bad, like I work too hard to make a business. One day I tell my daughter, hey, baby, you see that people, they sell fruit? But you know something, baby? God is bring the sun for everyone. But now I see it. Sometimes I don't have money to buy food to give it to my kids, and I feel real bad. When you guys make the park behind me, I am so happy you guys made it, and I see how much money you drop in there. I used to work in construction, and I see it. God, thank you. You will help me to get money because I invest a lot over here. When I see the customers coming from the park, they come one time, they don't come for the second time. I am a human being, and I see the homeless, they are human beings too. But sometimes the customers, they don't want to come back because they see it, people's walking with his pants all the way down, looking his back, and I try to be like a security guy. Why? Because I had to family to feed it, and I feel bad. Like I go down, my family go down too. And I really want you to do something for us because I have big pain. The men supposed to bring the food for homes, not the girls. I'm feeling like I am eating because my wife working, because the money I have in the bank, that's going to be down. Sometimes I don't have enough money to pay my bills. I apologize, be a man and crying in front of you guys, but I am a man with a heart too. I apologize.
Okay. Thank you. No. And as I said, we will be taking this up sometime in the future. And I think also contacting the people who have been speaking about this issue and trying.
We cannot wait until New Year's. Yeah, we cannot wait. We cannot wait. That's too more months. You guys need to do something. The states regulate some stuff, yes. But
Sir, I'm sorry, you can't. Did you want to? Did we have any other speakers?
Yes, Madam Mayor, one more. Bob McKay is requesting to speak again. That is the last speaker.
We have
in
someone
person.
on. We have someone on Zoom.
But in person.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Mayor, and council members. It's a pleasure being here the first time this evening. I sort of stand here, though, saddened because I'm somewhat illiterate as to what this agenda item public comments really means. I had assumed that public comments was a time when the public, someone like myself, could come before you and address grievances, have an attentive audience, and not have my conversations with each of you suppressed by a 3-minute timer. Unless I am a tobacco auctioneer who can speak as fast as they can, there'd be no way any public person who would want to come before you and address grievances could do so in 3 minutes. Now, as I indicated to you, because of my ignorance as to how the public comments works, perhaps all of you should consider changing the speaker time or have a period in which people can come before you and not have their speech suppressed by a timer, because that is what you have done. Now, I witnessed tonight Peggy Guernsey coming up here speaking. She spoke for only 7 minutes, or attempted to. Now, 7 minutes out of your times, if you really wanted to listen to grievances, would have been permitted. But no, what happened? The city manager had to come up and help get an officer up here and attempt to get her out of here. Now, that doesn't exactly strike me as a situation of public comment being addressed. That shows me that that is a suppression. So I'm only suggesting to all of you, because I know that you all are objective, give it some thought as to, do you really want to have someone up here before you speaking in reference to grievances that can be addressed, or do you merely want to suppress them? Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, are there any other members? Is there anyone else in here who wants to speak? Yes. If you do want to speak, please come forward. All right, I'm going to go to the Zoom. There are a couple people on Zoom now. Gino Altamirano.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yeah, hi. Yeah, my name is Gino Gabriel Altamirano. I just wanted to speak on the issue regarding the food vendors. A couple of concerns. One is the initial response last week and this week from the city. Last week it was our hands are tied. This week it's the bill limits us to what we can do. And that's very concerning, because reading through the bills and through the health and safety code, it is clear that any mobile food facility needs to get a health and safety permit. They cannot sell out of anything other than a cart, a food cart, a hot dog cart, a fruit cart. They cannot just put tables up and sell food, and you must show a health and safety permit, and there are laws in the health safety code that regulate and fine folks who do otherwise. And I find it very concerning that the city's initial response, that their hands are tied and there's not much we can do because of the bills, because we're in the era of environmental justice, and the Office of the Attorney General has been pushing to eliminate discriminatory and biased policies by cities to certain communities within their city boundaries. And we feel, as coming from the South Hayward community, that this is an environmental justice issue. Just the initial response says a lot there. The attitudes and the positioning by the city is the same. What we feel are policies that are discriminatory against certain areas of the city of Hayward. Now, if these same food vendors would have set up shop in front of City Hall or other areas in the city, they would not last long. So we are taking a position, I'm speaking on behalf of our group that recently formed South Hayward Now, and we are going to start advocating behind, with environmental justice in mind, and pushing the city of Hayward to look at these issues and to assist the city of Hayward in moving past business as usual, but finding solutions for the entire city, all areas. So we're really concerned about as a citizen, I am calling because, the South Hayward, Tennyson Boulevard, the last 20 years, I'm born and raised here, born in St. Rose Hospital.
Thank you.
It has gone down.
But yes, thank you. And then we have Suzanne.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Luther, proud member of Hayward Concerned Citizens. And I spoke last weekend, and I really feel for this group of restaurant owners. And one, I know that you say that it's going to come up on the agenda sometime after the end of the year. 2 months is a long time for them to be losing money after they've lost so much money during the pandemic. I can't even imagine how they even stayed open. Is there any way you guys can do a special meeting for this group prior, or add this issue to the agenda sooner than the first of the year. And Gabriel had a really good point. This is kind of like Russell City, right in your face, right here and right now, discriminating against the lower income South Hayward restaurant owners. Minority, just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk. I do hope that we can get some.
Mayor,
Yes,
we are.
go ahead.
I was just gonna. I've been communicating with staff. We're planning to reach out to all of the business owners. It may not come back to the council for discussion until after the New Year, but that doesn't mean we're going to not be working with the
Right.
business owners to see if there's anything else we can do.
And I think that to the extent that there can be enforcement, there should be some attention to that right now. Councilmember Zermino. And I have some.
No, just
colleagues that-
appreciate, City Manager, that you would meet with them as soon as possible to make sure that we really hear them. Thank you.
Yeah. Councilmember Wahab.
Thank you. I think I've shared many times, my parents were small business owners, and, to the speakers that came in for the past couple, weeks, I'll say, I agree if one or two of my council colleagues are able to also agree, I think that we can bring the meeting to the full council within the next 2 months, if preferably within the next month. I know that's a little bit of work with staff capacity, but I think it is a priority. They have been coming here multiple times. We have received emails as well. And I think that it's just right to see what we can do. So if we're able to kind of revisit this as a full council within the next month, which is my suggestion, I'm hoping my council colleagues would agree. In the months of November and December, we don't have every single week a meeting, nor do we have the most packed agenda items. So I'm hoping that we can kind of squeeze that in. The sooner the better, because these everything that was said, I agree with. Not only is it difficult to maintain a business, it's very difficult to maintain a brick and mortar business, as well as the fact that the majority of the people that have spoken tonight are from lower income / immigrant communities. I was one of those kids that spoke up for my parents. So I'm seeing this as a big struggle for them. And, we need to meet people where they're at as soon as possible. So hopefully my council colleagues can chime in with that as well. But I think that we can do it in the next month. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Marquez. Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to get into discussion, like I said last week, because this isn't an agenda item, but I am in support, since it's already been put out there, and asking staff to look at short, mid, and long-term solutions to address the concerns. We're all well aware of what they are. They're not just in South Hayward. That is primarily where we see it, but it's throughout the entire city. So let's be clear, we're not ignoring one specific area. This is across the board throughout the city. Also, just want to emphasize that the comments made last week were speaking in regard to, there were very clear restrictions on what we could do during the height of COVID. That's when this first started, kind of the uptick in our community. But we're obviously well aware of the issue now. And, we do have a process here and how we prioritize things. We could meet next week, but next week is election day. There is a lot going on. So people just really have to understand the context and the timing of what we're up against. It's not that we're being dismissive, but in order to adopt good policy, we also can't rush things. Everyone has to be part of this conversation. Everyone that's impacted, including the vendors. Thank you.
All right. Yes, thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to all of the communities, especially South Hayward community, for coming out tonight. I definitely understand this concern. This has been part of our conversations internally. We have been seeing this issue. We have been looking at what the state has been proposing during this time, and I will be in support of expediting this issue, as this has been a concern for a lot of the council members as well. It is a public health issue, as well as many of the speakers identified. but we want to make sure that we do this the right way. We don't want this to turn into like a social justice issue that can go down a path that we don't want to go down, and we want to make sure that everyone is heard. However, we know that you are a vital part of our community. The small business community is a vital part of our community, particularly in South Hayward. So we definitely want to move forward as fast as we possibly can. But like the other council member said, Councilmember Marquez, we do have a tough Tuesday next Tuesday, but I definitely want to figure out a way to expedite this. I also want staff, if it's possible, can we see where the permits are being administered and seeing what we are doing at looking at who's reviewing these permits as well as the locations. I understand we're going to be reaching out to businesses individually, but we should be asking our other agencies what are they doing during this time as well, because I'm sure they have a role in this. So is it like Department of Public Health? Is there another agency?
Well, we'll look into it, Councilmember Andrews.
Okay, thank you.
This isn't on the agenda, so I want to just caution the council of getting too deep into a discussion about it.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay. So, is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment at this time? Seeing no one coming forward, we do have our city clerk wants to make a public comment about the upcoming election. So, Madam City Clerk.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you so much for the opportunity to provide information for our residents. As you know, next Tuesday, November 8th, is Election Day. In Hayward, we have a municipal election. And because we have been receiving phone calls about vote centers, I just wanted to share my screen. We have plenty of information on our website. So if you will allow me, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. And here we go. Can you see my screen? There it is. Very good. Thank you so much. So from our homepage, what you're seeing right now is our homepage. From our homepage, we have dedicated a page for elections only, and that's where I am, elections. On this page, individuals could find information about the candidates that we have running for office. I mean, this is, I'm not going to go into every single page, but I just wanted to highlight that this is the page where individuals could find information about mayor and city council candidates. Of course, we only have one candidate for mayor. What I wanted to concentrate on mostly is the vote centers and the 24-hour drop box locations, because that has been the majority of the questions that came in. Just wanted to, again, remind our voters that Alameda County is now a Voters' Choice Act county, which means that now we have more days and more ways to vote. There are three options for our voters currently. Individuals could return their completed ballots via U.S. mail. Vote by mail ballots already include prepaid postage, so there's no need to include that. And so they have to be received by the registered voters by Tuesday, November 15th. They need to be postmarked. So that's just what voters need to have in mind. The other option is to return them to a 24-hour ballot drop box. There are many locations in Alameda County, so they could return them to any drop box location. And they are open 24 hours through Election Day up to 8 p.m. And of course, they could return those ballots to any vote center. Currently, throughout Alameda County, we have 20 vote center locations, They already opened on October 29th, and they will remain open until November 8th. And then we have 80 of them that will open starting this Saturday, November 5th, through Election Day, of course. Except for Election Day, they are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and on Election Day, they will be open from 7 a.m. To 8 p.m. The page here will provide individuals with a link. If you see here where I'm highlighting list of voting locations, if someone clicks on that link, that will take them to the different vote centers countywide. And if they go to Hayward, they click on Hayward, then they'll be able to see the different vote centers in Hayward. We have also dedicated a page just for Hayward. If they go to the vote centers and 24-hour drop box location on the link that I'm pointing right now, that's where individuals will have the map, and they have more detailed information about Hayward specifically. And if I go back, and I'm almost done, Mayor, thank you for allowing me to spend some time providing this. Lastly, I just wanted to let our voters know that they could find the closest location to their address by clicking on the vote center locations. If they click on that link, they just need to agree to access so they agree to the terms above. And then this is just a link to the Alameda County Register of Voters. So on this site, individuals just need to add an address, and as soon as they add the address, they'll find the vote centers closer to the address. So again, we have plenty of information on our website. I welcome voters to visit our website and also to call my office on Election Day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. My office number, 510-583-4400. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you for the information, and thank you and your entire staff for the job you do to make sure that our elections run smoothly and are fair, and and that there are not problems with them. You do it every single time we have an election, and I think given the amount of publicity we are having right now in other parts of the country about election difficulties or election questions. I feel so grateful to live here in California and here in Hayward, where I know we have very honest people running and not just honest, but dedicated people who are doing everything that they can to make sure that people have the opportunity to vote. And there's no excuse. So you heard all of those ways. You heard the information is available. If you have questions, you can call our city clerk. There is no reason not to vote, so go out and do it. I really appreciated getting the email saying your ballot has been mailed. My ballot arrived. I haven't turned it in yet, but I know last time yes, your ballot has been received. And it's just, I used to want to go to the polls on Election Day because I just thought that was the thing to do, but it is the way we can vote now is very easy. And I know there's a box right out in front of the City Hall on B Street that people can bring their ballots to when they're ready. So I hope everyone will vote. And the election, as we know, is 1 week from today. So, all right, with that, we're going to move on with our agenda, and that brings us to comments from our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick comment this evening. I wanted to mention the city's compost giveaway, which will be occurring this Saturday, November 5th, in the parking lot of the former SkyWest Golf Course at 1401 Golf Course Road. The event will begin at 7:30 a.m. and will end when the compost runs out. Each household can pick up to 4 1-cubic-foot bags of organic compost. So that was the announcement from our staff this evening. Thank you.
All right, that's it for this evening. So,
Mayor, I have a quick comment, if you don't mind.
Sorry, Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Thank you to our amazing city clerk for all her great work. Just wanted to remind the public with respect to turning in your ballot, please be sure to sign it And it's really important that I know my signature often changes, so make sure that you go off the signature, I believe off your driver's license is what they're recommending. I know there's been some issues with ballots not being accepted because of the signature, so just make sure that that's done carefully. Thank you.
All right, thanks for the comment. With that, okay. That brings us to our consent calendar this evening, consisting of items 1 through 6. Did we receive any requests to make a public comment on any of those items, Madam City Clerk?
No, Madam Mayor, haven't received any.
All right, and I'm not seeing anyone online. Any council members want to remove an item? Councilmember Marquez?
No, I'm happy to move them when you're ready.
I'm ready, and all right.
I'll second.
Okay, I heard Councilmember Zermeño in the up here,
No worries.
but thank you, Councilmember Wahab. Okay, so on the motion by Councilmember Marquez, seconded by Councilmember Zermeño, on items 1 through 6, Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Andrews?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I just forgot to see if item number 5, do I need to recuse from that one?
Maybe. Yeah, I think you have.
Yeah. Do you?
Yes.
Apologies.
Councilmember Andrews has
Sorry,
recused
okay.
herself from prior.
So will the maker of the motion amend it to items 1 through 4 and number 6? It was number 5 that you have to, right? Yes.
Yes.
1 through 4 and number 6.
Yes, I'll move consent items 1 through 4 and 6.
And the seconder agrees. So now, Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Andrews?
Aye.
Councilmember Lamnin?
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez?
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas?
Yes.
Councilmember Wahab?
Yes.
Councilmember Cermeño?
Sí.
Mayor Halliday?
Yes. And the motion carries with 7 aye votes, right? And now we will recuse, or Councilmember Andrews will step away from her Zoom, and we will, I would entertain a motion on item number 5.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, Councilmember Lamnin. So moved by Councilmember Marquez, seconded by Councilmember Lamnin. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Go ahead and, okay. Councilmember Andrews, recused. Councilmember Lamnin?
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez?
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas?
Yes.
Councilmember Wahab?
Yes.
Councilmember Cermeño?
Sí.
Mayor Halliday?
Yes, and the motion carries with 6 aye votes and 1 member recusing herself. Okay. That brings us now to item number 7, which is a public hearing on building and fire code updates, introduction of ordinances and adoption of resolutions, adopting the California Code of Regulations 2022 edition of Title 24, including the 2022 building, fire, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, energy, and green building codes and related amendments. And we will be hearing, I think, first from Assistant City Manager Ott.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council members. I'm going to turn this over to our Chief Building Official, Omar Nourzad, who's going to present to you about the updated codes.
Evening. Let me see if I can get share my window. Can you see this?
No. Okay. Omar, do you want the clerk to? Oh, there we go.
Bear with me. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's another code adoption cycle. So it's an exciting time, at least for the building officials. I just wanted to take the time to to go over the code making and the importance of code making process for the building codes with you. So the California Building Standards Commission is actually authorized to the state to produce the building codes. And so they're essentially the building code body, and under the building code body, there's a code advisory committee, the CAC. And the CAC is made up of industry professionals that break down the code and dissect it and essentially create the codes that we implement and adopt as part of California state codes. The California codes are actually some of the green technologies that we're actually getting from the building codes actually comes from the CAC and the code advisory committees. This rulemaking process, it's about 18-month process, although adoption is 3 years. It's very much a living code. Every 18 months, there's a review of the codes and new technologies and new processes that come into the industry is implemented and reviewed for adoption. So it's very much a living code cycle, it's not built in some sort of vacuum. And another key part of the building codes is actually standards. So without these standards, I mean, if we don't have standards for doors or windows for egress, it's very difficult to build. It's very expensive. And so standards is actually a very key part in the codes and the California Building Standards codes, actually. So without standards, codes become, or the building cost goes up, it rises, and construction slows down. So if we actually look at this flow chart here, as I stated earlier, these codes aren't created in a vacuum. If you look at all the green bubbles in that flow chart, those are all public comment sections. So anytime the public can make a comment or be part of implementing some code change in the code making process. And as you can see in the flow chart, there's quite a few places that the public can contribute to the code. And another great aspect that's kind of near and dear to all of our hearts, I'm sure, is the green building standards and the California, the CAC actually is in charge of implementing and reviewing green codes and green technologies that we implement in the construction industry on a daily basis. So what's exciting to the new codes? So besides solar, which I know is very exciting and we all love solar and electrification, what's really gotten me excited this year is we have mass timber and CLT in particular that's been adopted under the heavy timber construction types. This is a panelized, large-scale, solid wood panels that are used. It's starting to substitute construction, starting to substitute concrete, which has a heavy, CO2 footprint. CLT actually has a very light CO2 footprint. It's very eco-friendly, and if it comes from a sustainable forest, it's actually very, very green. It's great for our seismic zone. It reduces sound transfer. It's great for fire. And more recently, as you can see in the picture here, more and more cities around the world are using it in seismic zones for high-rise buildings because it does flex and move, and it's great for seismic zones. So the challenge is, green building is growing with the cutting-edge technologies. Demand for clean and green is up. Building codes are proactively trying to catch up with the green building requirements. Industry is working hard to make sure that the code is actually catching up with what's out there. Housing, ADU, and low income obviously become a challenge because the more regulation and the more technology that you throw at these buildings in the building construction industry, the higher the cost of construction goes, right? So in order to keep those costs reduced, essentially the code recognizes standards help that. So the more we we keep our code standard with the state, the faster, cheaper, and easier it is for the industry to build and produce these homes for, for the low income and the housing parts of the sector. And with that said, open for questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Let's see. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. Wanted to know if some of these green building requirements, does it make it easier to get to LEED certified buildings? Are we still trying to get to certain levels? And how does that work with LEED?
It's part of, LEED is part of the process. It's part of how you come up with a building. It's a design requirement. So it depends on the architect and how they want to design these buildings. What this is actually doing is giving the industry another tool in their toolkit. Okay. And it's actually a sustainable tool, at least with CLT, and the code recognizes that you can build high-rise with wood and not have to worry about fires as much. They have been tested, and acoustics are great for wood rather than concrete, where it echoes and causes noise issues. With wood, it absorbs noise, so it's fairly exciting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'll open the public hearing on this item and invite anyone among the attendees on Zoom to raise your hand. We no longer have any attendees in the in the chambers here. I'm not seeing any hands going up among the people on Zoom, so I'll close the public hearing and go back to council for a motion or discussion.
Madam Mayor, I'll move the item.
Okay. All right. Council member, okay, thank you. Council member Lamnon?
It's fine. I was trying to jump in there. Just have an ask if the maker and the seconder are amenable to remove the gender-specific language in the fire code. Okay, thank you.
Can we do that, staff? Is that? Did you understand? Okay.
Councilmember Lamnon had pointed out that consistent with the changes we had made to the city charter of taking out gender-specific pronouns, just making sure before we bring the ordinances back for the second reading that both be reflected as gender neutral in the same way that our charter changes were made.
So this will come back
15th, I think.
Next week? Yeah, no, or the 15th. Okay, so the maker of the motion, Councilmember Salinas, are you?
Yes. That's yes, and I just wanted to thank Mr. Norzad for his work. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And Councilmember Zermino, are you? Yes. Okay. Any other comments from council members? Okay. With that, then I think that we can have a roll call vote. Thank you. On the motion made by Councilmember Salinas, seconded by Councilmember Zermino, and including the amendment offered by Councilmember Lamnon that the gender-specific language be removed from our ordinance. Okay.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Andrews?
Aye.
Councilmember Lamnon?
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez?
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas?
Yes.
Councilmember Wahab?
Yes.
Councilmember Zermino?
Aye. Aye.
Mayor Halliday?
Yes, and the motion carries with 7 aye votes. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to item number 8, which is regarding our REACH code, where introduction of the REACH code, addressing new building electrification, electric vehicle charging requirements, and repealing current REACH code. And we will be hearing from Public Works Director Ameri on this one.
Director Mary is not available tonight, so I'll be taking this presentation.
We will be hearing from Mr. Pearson. Thank you.
Yes.
His able right-hand man, right? Right-hand
Thank you,
person,
Mayor.
sorry. His able right-hand person.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Let me take a moment to share my screen. Okay. So yes, tonight staff is recommending that Council introduce a new REACH code ordinance. Here tonight to help answer questions. As you know, we have our Chief Building Official here, Omar Noorzad. And then also we've been partnering with both East Bay Community Energy and their consultant TRC. So we also have Avani Goyal from TRC here to help answer questions. Also, we want to acknowledge that East Bay Community Energy submitted a letter of support today that you should have received. And so the ordinance being presented tonight was considered by the Council Sustainability Committee on October 6th, and the committee recommended approval. So the REACH code is a local ordinance that amends the state building code. Hayward's current REACH code was adopted by Council in March 2020, and it supports our efforts to reduce dependency on fossil fuels. The code also requires additional charging infrastructure to support our transition to electric vehicles. And you can see here a web page that we have with the current ordinance. It also has checklists for builders. And this page has been updated with information about the new REACH code. The current REACH code has 3 primary components. It requires all new single-family homes and new low-rise multifamily buildings. That's up to 3 stories. They must be all electric. And then high-rise residential and commercial buildings can be either all electric or mixed fuel. If they're mixed fuel, they have to have additional solar and energy efficiency installed. And the third component is electric vehicle charging requirements that go above and beyond the state code. The state codes are updated on a 3-year cycle. The new state code takes effect in January 2023. And so to continue our current REACH code requirements, a new ordinance will need to be adopted this year to be effective in January. More than 50 REACH codes were adopted throughout California for the current code cycle, and even more are considering REACH codes for the upcoming cycle. And more than 30 cities and counties in the Bay Area are adopting new REACH codes this fall. Several have hearings tonight, including Dublin, Emeryville, and Pleasanton. And those that you see that are underlined are jurisdictions that are adopting REACH codes for the first time. So they did not adopt a REACH code for the current cycle. So Council's strategic roadmap was updated in May this year. It identifies 3 priority projects that are aimed at reducing our dependency on fossil fuels. And these projects are directly related to the REACH code. Projects C1 and C2 were completed with the adoption of the current REACH code in March 2020. And then project C10 is to explore feasibility of banning gas in new non-residential buildings, which is what we've been looking into this year. For the current code adopted in 2020, staff worked closely with East Bay Community Energy and their consultants. This year, a model code was developed with the same consultants, that's TRC, through a regional collaboration. The collaboration was led by East Bay Community Energy and other energy programs in the area. The working group created a website with model codes and resources. So we had 5 public meetings this year, including the Sustainability Committee, Planning Commission, and City Council. At the June 14th City Council work session, the Council generally supported staff's recommendations. And the ordinance being presented tonight incorporates comments that we received from all 3 bodies. The ordinance being presented that's attached to the staff report has 2 sections, one for electrification of new buildings and one for EV charging requirements. This table shows a summary of the requirements that are recommended for new buildings. It would require all new residential buildings to be all electric. So for low-rise residential, that's single family and multifamily up to 3 stories, there would be no change. We're recommending for some new requirements for accessory dwelling units, particularly those that are smaller, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. And then high-rise residential and mixed-use buildings would need to be all electric. And then non-residential buildings, we're recommending that they be allowed to have gas. And I'll talk about that more in a moment. So for new detached accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, when we held the work session in June this year, we had not yet made a determination regarding the smaller ADUs that are less than 400 square feet. The current REACH code exempts these small ADUs and allows gas water heaters. The reason for this is that a heat pump water heater has a tank, and so it takes up more space than a tankless gas-fired water heater. However, the new state code now allows for electric tankless water heaters in homes that are less than 500 square feet. So it is now easier and cost-effective to go all electric with a small ADU. So staff is recommending that all new accessory dwelling units be required to be all electric. For new non-residential buildings, we considered a complete ban on gas, but we also looked at exceptions for certain businesses that still need gas, including industrial and some industrial uses and restaurants. However, we found that administering an exception process would be very time-consuming for staff. And also, most new non-residential buildings are built on speculation, and so we don't know who the tenant will be when it is being designed. So staff is recommending that gas be allowed in new non-residential buildings, but if they do have gas, they also must be electric ready. And so this would mean if a gas appliance is installed with the initial construction, the building must also have the wiring and, the panel capacity so that the building can be converted to electric in the future. And then also, as this was mentioned during the June work session, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District in April this year adopted new thresholds of significance to be used in environmental analyses when evaluating new projects pursuant to CEQA, or the California Environmental Quality Act. These thresholds are used to determine the significance of an environmental impact, and they used to be numeric, but they are now qualitative thresholds due to the state's goal to be carbon neutral by 2045. And so the district is recommending that for a project to not have a significant impact on the environment, it must either have no gas or it must be consistent with a local climate action plan. But given that our current climate action plan only has programs designed to meet the 2020 target, and our updated CAP is not likely to be adopted until the middle of 2023, there are some new buildings that may need to prepare an environmental impact report in order to have gas. And so the recommended update to the climate action plan will likely call for a complete ban on gas infrastructure effective January 2026. And so this would be the next REACH code that could be adopted 3 years from now. And so staff is seeking council's comments on this potential gas ban. We will also be discussing the draft climate action plan early next year, and so there'll be additional opportunities to discuss this potential ban on gas. And now on to electric vehicle charging. You may know that the California Air Resources Board recently adopted a rule that all new passenger vehicles must be zero emissions by 2035. And so we expect to see a significant increase in the demand for charging. We currently have different requirements for different land use types. The biggest change here is for multifamily. The current requirement is for all chargers to be level 2 high power, which requires each one to have a 40 amp circuit. The proposal is for a requirement for 80% of the parking spaces to be a low power level 2, which would be require a 20 amp circuit. And so that reduced amperage reduces the need for larger electrical service and transformers. Staff is also recommending that the same requirement apply to all multifamily projects, including affordable developments, as we see this as an amenity that should be available to all residents, regardless of property type. So in addition to the public meetings mentioned earlier. Staff also reached out to developers several times this year. In February, we had 2 public workshops that were hosted by the regional working group. Staff also talked individually with affordable housing developers, specifically about the EV charging requirements. In May, we talked with the Chamber of Commerce. And then we also talked directly with industrial developers, many of whom asked for flexibility in the requirements, especially for life science buildings. And then in September this year, we emailed a long list of stakeholders and builders, including affordable housing developers, and we included the recommendations that are being presented tonight, and we did not receive any comments. And so if adopted at the second reading in a couple of weeks, staff will file the ordinance with the State Building Standards Commission. And then we will be preparing updated handouts for builders and developers. And then the REACH code would take effect in January 2023. So staff is recommending that the council find the ordinance exempt from CEQA, adopt the resolution, and introduce the ordinance. The ordinance has 3 parts. There's the electrification requirements for new buildings, which would be a new article in Chapter 9 of the Municipal Code. The EV charging requirements are amendments to the off-street parking regulations. And then third would be a repeal of the current REACH code requirements. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for the report. So let me ask if, and there are, Councilmember Zermania?
I have a comment, not a question, Mayor.
So you want to hold that? Okay. Councilmember Andrews?
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question. I don't know if the REACH code is a place to do this, but one of my biggest regrets on Planning Commission was not asking more about undergrounding utilities and seeing if that is something that can be done as part of the electrification. I know that in my previous experience, that was a tough pill to swallow when that was asked, but I'm just wondering, given all the fires and just the communities looking nicer without overhead utilities, just wondering if that's something that can be done in this code or something that we need to bring up at a later point in a different context.
I don't think the undergrounding of utilities is a building code issue that we would modify. I believe it's more of an engineering standard. So, but that's something we can definitely look into.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Marquez?
Thank you for the presentation and for the work session and previous committee meetings and all the community outreach. With respect to allowing some flexibility for industrial use, can you please reiterate the comment about at some point they're going to ban gas altogether? Do we know of a specific year? And can you just elaborate on that issue?
Yeah, there's many cities are already banning gas for all land use types. Here in Hayward, we felt that it was important to maintain some flexibility and allow gas for certain business types. But given that the state is on a path to carbon neutrality by 2045, and also Hayward is trying to follow suit, we do expect that at some point we need to have a ban on gas on all new gas infrastructure. We're currently looking at potentially January 2026 as the effective date for that.
Okay. And if we move forward as is now and not do 100% ban, still allow for some flexibility, that will obviously give the industry time to adapt, but there will obviously be enough notification in advance of the 26 deadline for people to know, if you're interested in doing business in Hayward, get your permits in now. Are we prepared? Are we prepared to handle applications on the development side for life science and kind of expanding that in our community?
In the next 3 years, the life science applications should be no problem. And I'd say, if a gas ban is enacted. What we plan to do over the next few years is look at how other cities are handling this. There could be, potential for limited exceptions to continue on beyond January 2026, and we can see how other cities are handling those exceptions and what the evaluation criteria would be. We can present that to the council for consideration.
Okay, and then with respect to the affordable housing developments, are we aware of any tax incentives, state funding, anything to offset the cost of building the infrastructure for EV charging stations?
I am not aware of any incentives for EV charging infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, a couple actually, but one is about on page 4 of the staff report. It is noted that we're talking about. We've had quite some discussion in the at the Sustainability Committee about charge. What we're putting into requiring in new multifamily construction as far as, charging EV chargers. And we know that EVs are, going to be the car, we're having more and more of them, and there won't be any other kind of cars sold after 2035, I think. But I just wondered why you listed the cost out of different chargers needed for. This is on page 4, for high power level 2 charging. And you note that the cost of a high power 40 amp level 2 charger with one plug is approximately $700, while the cost of a high power 40 amp level 2 charger with 2 plugs is approximately $1,600. That is more than twice as much as one charger. You would think with just having to put one charger in and then have 2 plugs. And that makes sense when you have a parking lot and, you've got cars parked on either side that can both, that makes it, that enables more people to charge at the same time. But why would it's not that much more than double, but why would it be even double, let alone more than double the cost?
I'm not 100% positive, but I believe it's because that charger would allow 2 cars to charge at one time, and there's extra equipment there that can modulate the power that it's going to each car. So if one needs more of a charge than the other, it's going to send more electricity to that vehicle. But yeah, and I think it's just a more complex piece of equipment.
Okay, I guess I understand that. It's too bad though, because that's really the kind of thing we want to encourage probably, so that more people can get their cars charged. And I guess the other one is about the tankless water heater, which this is a report about energy and saving energy, but a tankless water heater also, doesn't it save water by not? Is that the type of thing? Yes, where you turn the water on and it's hot immediately, so you don't waste a lot of water trying to get the water hot before you hop into the shower. We put ours in a bucket and use it to water our plants and stuff. But so I know you don't mention that, but isn't that another benefit of requiring tankless water heaters?
They can, but although I've had a tankless water heater myself, and I think it also depends on how far that water heater is from the faucet. So it can still take some time for you to receive the hot water where you're at the faucet.
All right, I just thought I'd ask that. So with that, I don't see any other hands raised for questions. I'll open the public hearing on this. Are there any members of the public who will wish to comment on this item? If so, please raise your hand, particularly if you're on Zoom. Please raise your hand. We have no one left in the chambers. I'm not seeing any hands go up, so I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Zermeño.
Mayor, thank you, and Eric, thank you very much for a good report. And as a proud member of the Sustainability Committee, this is excellent as far as reaching the zero carbon footprint sometime in the future. So I encourage my colleagues to vote for this. And Mayor, I will second your motion since you are the chair of the Sustainability Committee.
All right, I will make that motion to move the staff recommendation. Thank you, Councilmember
Second.
Zermeño,
Second.
and you will second it. And Councilmember Lamnen?
Thank you, Mayor. I did actually have one question and then a comment. On the new construction, do I remember correctly that new construction for multifamily would have individual meters? Generally speaking?
Yeah, I believe that's typical for individual electric meters.
Okay. So the concern that was raised by some of the property owners of not wanting to sort of have to meter out would be mitigated in new construction because they would have the individual. Yeah.
I think maybe the concern that's been brought up is regarding the EV chargers and whether or not those would be separately metered. And I think that's I think it's up to the property manager in terms of how those could be billed to the residents.
Right. But certainly in newer construction, that could be easier. So, and that's mostly what we're talking about.
We should, yeah.
Right.
Should be encouraging that.
Right. Okay.
Or
Thank you for
requiring
that.
it.
And then just since you asked for a comment on the ban on gas infrastructure, I'm certainly supportive for all the reasons that we know environmentally. I appreciate the information about technology advancements because, sitting on the fault line as we do, one of the concerns that I've voiced in the past is about, what happens for hot water and cooking when there is a disruption in electricity. Somebody doesn't have a gas option or something. I realize gas can get interrupted in an earthquake, but just power failures, et cetera. We have great issues. So just sort of, and I know Mr. Pearson and all of our staff are really thinking strategically about this, and I appreciate that. So paying attention to what new technology is happening, what industry needs happen, what grid infrastructure can support. And then what are the disaster preparedness responses are the pieces that, while it probably won't be me voting on, but as a resident of Hayward, I would like to see in terms of, yes, we do need to ban gas infrastructure, and do we have these other pieces that will help still make the residents be safe and healthy in their homes. So thank you for all the public outreach on this effort so far. And again, thank you for the excellent work.
Okay, and I want to recognize the Sustainability Committee did spend quite a bit of time on this, and our third member is Councilmember Marquez. So, we went through this a few times, but I think is really a good job by staff of pulling it all together. And so with that, with seeing other hands raised, I'll call on our city clerk to please call the roll on this motion made by myself. Thank you, Councilmember Zermeño, and seconded by Councilmember Zermeño to support the staff recommendation.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Councilmember Andrews?
Aye.
Councilmember Lamnen?
Aye.
Councilmember Marquez?
Aye.
Councilmember Salinas?
Yes.
Councilmember Wahab?
Yes.
Councilmember Zermeño?
Sí.
Mayor Halliday?
Yes, and the motion carries with 7 aye votes. Thank you, and thank you for all the work, Mr. Pearson, that I know that you put into this too, and the rest of your staff. So with that, we have an informational item, item number 9. Yes, it's informational, so we will move on to council reports, announcements.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I had a comment.
Yes, Councilmember Salinas.
I just wanted to acknowledge the library and the library staff for, putting on and hosting a fantastic trunk or treat event on Saturday. There was over 2,000 people there. There were about 2,300 meals served to kids and participants, and it was just a wonderful event. It was we couldn't have asked for a better day, and you saw ghosts, goblins, princesses, You even saw you even saw dogs out there decorate, I saw a carrot. I saw a little dog, it was a carrot. And so it was just a really fun event. The vibe was great, and the spirit was high, and it was just really, really fun. And so, Madam City Manager, please tell Director Adelman, thank you very much. I know her staff put in a lot of work in this, and I know these events, they're fun. There's a lot of activity, but there's a lot of logistical work that happens, and so I just wanted to thank them, and also a big shout out again to to the streets maintenance team who set everything up, and of course make sure that everything runs smooth and everything's cleaned up and wrapped up at the end of the afternoon. So it was just a great event, and it was just a lot of fun. And so that's it. It was a great event. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree. Councilmember Marquez.
Mayor, can I ask a question on the informational item?
Oh, sorry. Yes, you can.
Okay,
We'll
thank
go back
you.
to the informational item. I didn't see any hands up when we had that, but sorry.
Thank you. So I know we're going to discuss this later. This is just kind of giving us ideas and options and to be open with the public. But unless I missed it, just to put out there, obviously we're not making a decision tonight, but if we can get an answer by the time we do agendize this topic, I believe the last go around in 2014, the council members selected who they wanted to interview, but there was a threshold. I want to say you needed at least 4 or 5 council members to want to advance you to the interview process. So if that please can be researched, just so we have that information when we discuss this. And then I'll put my hand down and I'll make a comment after Councilmember Andrews and general comments. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go back to council reports and announcements. And okay, Councilmember Andrews.
Yes, I'll echo Councilmember Salinas' comments and thanking the library staff as well as maintenance and streets. We had a great time, great turnout. Also want to acknowledge all the Halloween events that happened. I lost track of how many I actually went to, but I definitely want to thank Hillcrest View as well as there was one I went to at Hard, at the Plunge. They had a pumpkin splash, so you can get in the water and grab a pumpkin. So that was really fun. So thank you to Hard for organizing that. And then also I wanted to thank Treasures Unleashed. I believe they also had a trunk or treat Halloween event on Saturday, and Glad Tidings wanted to thank them. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the last 2 of those events, but wanted to thank them for holding those events for the community. And it's so important to have activities at night to give youth alternatives. So I just want to thank them for doing all that.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Marquez, Councilmember Marquez?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to share an announcement for the public that I want to get the date. I believe it was the week of October 24th, just to inform the public that there was a mosquito. It's an invasive Aedes aegypti that was located at a nearby landfill in Milpitas. So just wanted to let people know that information and encourage you to subscribe to press releases and updates from the Alameda County Mosquito District, even though it wasn't within our county, it borders our county, and just wanted to keep the public informed of that. And then also echo the comments with respect to all the great family-friendly events that occurred over the weekend. The library was amazing. When I pulled up, it was just so exciting to see so many lines of people in different parts of Heritage Plaza. So just thank you to everyone who coordinated that. Thank you to all the vehicles that decorated and handed out candy and the performers. It was just a really positive and amazing day. I was also excited that I got a lot of trick-or-treaters in my neighborhood. It's like the most I've ever seen. So that was fun last night. And I did have a chance to go over to Glad Tidings Church briefly. And I just love going to events, walking around and listening to what people are saying. And I heard more than 5 people just say how welcoming and friendly and how thankful they are for Glad Tidings Church, because they really do a lot in South Hayward. You know, they had the trunk or treat, they had a photo op area, they're giving out hot dogs, hot chocolate. They really, really go all out. So I just wanted to thank them for all their volunteers and everyone for putting that event on and doing something fun. Like Councilmember Andrew said, we need more events in the evening, especially that are free and for people of all ages. There was even elderly people out there. I was taking photos of a couple and they're giving out pumpkins. It was just really, really sweet, everything that they did for everyone. So more of that. But as Councilmember Salinas said, this all takes a lot of work, people. It looks amazing, but there are people that logistically coordinate, fundraise, and put all this stuff together. So if you want to roll up your sleeves and get to work, we're happy to help you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have one other thing I wanted to say.
Go ahead, Councilmember Salinas.
Yeah, I just wanted to, since somebody, since it was brought up earlier at the beginning of the meeting, I just wanted to say that it has been an absolute pleasure working with you over the years, and we've over the years we have developed a wonderful professional relationship. We have been great colleagues. I've always respected the work that you've done. And I've always honored the work that you've done, and I've always respected the seat in the office that you've held. And so I just wanted to say thank you for your service, and thank you for being a wonderful colleague. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Salinas. I really appreciate that, and I feel the same way. And looking forward to handing over the reins, and I think that we're going to have a really good mayor going forward too. So, and I shouldn't probably say that. But it's such a weird thing since we know the outcome. But in any event, after a week from tonight, we can talk about it more. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I wanted to add my comments on the trunk or treat event was great. We also had, I wouldn't say we had a lot of trick-or-treaters, but like last year we had none. We were very disappointed. We had a bowl of candy ready. Nobody came. Last night we had a few, so it was nice. We live on a hill, so I think it's kind of hard for people sometimes, but and on the trunk or treat event was really, and after I have to apologize after calling out council members before the event for not wearing costumes last year. I realized I showed up with, well, I said I was dressed as a mayor, but that didn't really go over very well. So I just didn't get it together to do a costume, but I did have a good time at the event, and I'm going to now read a poem that was sent to me by our poet laureate, Bruce Roberts, who was also inspired, who was also present at the event. And it's called Trunk or Treat. Hayward's Heritage Plaza, suddenly alive with booths, games, free photos, free food, free stories, and community information disguised as trick or treat. Lines beyond sight inch their way toward car trunks dispensing pencils, bookmarks, crayons, toys, and, of course, candy. Costumes filled the day, from babes in arms to teenagers holding on to childhood, Spider-Man, dinosaurs, werewolves, soldiers, monsters, Harry Potter, and, of course, princesses galore. Glittering long dresses with tiaras sparkling in the sun, all centered on happy all-color eyes and smiles that could light up the universe. Hayward, celebrating Halloween and diversity too, an unforgettable day. And that is from our poet laureate, Mr. Roberts, and I think we all had a good time, and You know, I will say, one of the really funniest things was seeing, I think this character is Barney. It was a purple dinosaur. A young man had this costume on, and, you know, you could just see him a little bit through the teeth or something maybe, but it was so funny because his mom was with him, and he commented on, yeah, he's the highlight. Everybody wanted his picture taken. And while we were sitting there talking, 3 little kids ran up and hugged him. Unfortunately, that kind of caused some of the air to come out of the costume, but still, it didn't all come out. And, you know, Barney was happy and the kids were happy, and it was just a really great day. Yeah, Councilmember Marquez.
Mayor, I just want to state for the record, myself and Councilmember Andrews did come in costume, and Councilmember Andrews' daughter. So
yes.
Everyone has a little bit less than a year to get their costume for next year. And I highly encourage you to purchase a wig.
Well, okay, I will be there again next year, you know, even though I won't be on this council anymore, but it's a fun event. And so, all right, with that, then, we have no council referrals, and so that brings us to our adjournment. Again, we will not, wait a minute, Councilmember Andrews. Take that adjournment back. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. This is kind of an announcement, not really a referral yet, but wanted to mention that it's on my radar. We've been receiving a lot of emails about catalytic converter thefts, and this is a crisis that we're seeing particularly in California, and it's definitely on the council's radar. So I just wanted to let the community know that we are concerned about it, and I have forwarded a program that I've been reading about called Etch and Protect, where there's a couple of cities, Palo Alto and San Jose, who have started this program in identifying numbers on catalytic converters to help reduce catalytic converter thefts. And if any council members are interested in helping me with that referral, I'll be looking at doing that. Obviously, we have bigger things that are coming up next meeting, but it definitely is something that's on my radar that I would like to have the city look at. I have forwarded that information to the chief of police as well as the city manager for their review, just so they can have that on their radar.
Thank you. It sounds like an interesting program, and I know it's a big problem for a lot of people. All right. Anyone else before we move on? No, not seeing any hands raised. Thank you all. And as I said, next week we will not be meeting. Next week is Election Day. The polls, as our city clerk informed us earlier, will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so please do vote. There's no reason not to. You should have gotten a ballot in the mail. Everyone has. And you can bring it in anytime and take it to any of those boxes. I don't think we are seeing any problems in our city with activity around those boxes. So it's out there in front of City Hall and other places in the city. So please vote. We will next meet on Tuesday night, November 15th at 7 p.m. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.